Should you buy one of these MSR Whisperlite classic backpacking stoves? Boy, that is a loaded question. First, let me start by saying I have used the Whisperlite stove a fair amount on, I probably got 30 or 40 nights of backpacking over the past 10 years using a Whisperlite stove. And I can tell you when they came out, they were state of the art. This is what you wanted to use. However, I'm also going to tell you that today, I believe there are better options, but because there are some people who worship at the altar of the Whisperlite, we're going to go through and look at some key features of how you set up one of these stoves, and then you decide for yourself what you'd like to do. Here's what it's going to look like when we get it set up. But let's get that box out of the way and see what comes in it. All right, the blue tape is where a scout troop took this to Philmont Scout Ranch, and they had their information on there, so we want to protect those scouts' privacy and hide that information under that blue tape. And now it comes with this little carry bag and all of this stuff that's in it, except the dirt and bits of tree bark. That is something the scout troop provided. In the repair kit, you'll see there's a little O-ring that's important, and then their pump cup oil that keeps the pump cup pliable so it'll seal and so it doesn't wear out, reduces the friction in it. And then this is a really neat little tool that has a variety of different sizes for this wrench, and you can open a can with it. There's a screwdriver, and this will turn a big nut. You can put it on a lanyard if you need to. Lots of neat things that you can accomplish with that tool. This is the part that you sit under the stove. So you want to protect tree roots or plants or anything that may be on the ground below. You open this circle up and you set up your stove on top of that. We're going to set that aside for now because it is crusty. Put that back in the bag. And then this other one is the windscreen. It's a sheet of aluminum, really, that it folds out, and you will make a ring all the way around your stove. This cutout in the middle is important because that is where your fuel line will go. So you'll set it up in a circle around your stove like that. We have an instruction manual. You will need to read this. The reason I say I prefer some other types of stoves is you don't even have to read the manual for the new isobutane stoves where you screw the canister on, crack the valve open, and light it, and you're done. There is a significant learning curve. I have found, I work a lot with scouts, and some of them never really get how to light a Whisperlite stove properly without risking causing a forest fire. There are lots of pump maintenance things that you have to be aware of, and stove maintenance. And if you have fuel contamination issues, there are a lot of things you have to be aware of. How you set your fuel bottle up, how you set the whole thing up. There are a lot of details. You absolutely need to read all of this. And remember I said that you can burn the forest down when you're trying to light it. The preheat function, if you do it wrong, you have a huge flame out, especially when you start it up and really start putting the fuel to it. I've seen people burn themselves. So that's one of the reasons that these are neat, but I don't actually recommend that people use them anymore. This is the pump assembly. And this is the good one. For the trip that this went on out to Philmont, we bought two of these brand new. 10 days into that trip in the field, this piece busted off of the other pump, rendering it useless. So it was not repairable in the field. We were down to one stove at that point. This screws into the fuel bottle. To connect the fuel line to the stove, you take this little point and you push it right in until it's flush, and then you will fold this over and clip it into place, and that locks it in place. If it's not locked in properly, you'll get a little leak of fuel and can have a fire there. This is your valve for increasing. This is shut off. This is opening the valve. That's wide open, high power, and this is closed. You can fold that out of the way for transportation. And then the main stove, this is your burner, a little bit of a windscreen. This is your preheater tube that comes up through, and then this is your little preheater bowl at the bottom. And there should be, I actually don't see it in this one, I think one of the scouts must have taken it out, a little piece of fiberglass wick in here. So when you go through your preheat process, you actually let a little fuel overrun down into that cup, and it soaks into the wick, and you light it, and then that heats this preheat tube. Oh, and it's a mess. There's another one of the issues I have with the Whisperlite is they become sooty. and a mess to carry around in ways that some of the newer isobutane stoves don't. So here you go. That's what it looks like when it's all set up. Okay, you fold the legs out until each one fits in between these two little ridges. And then you'll have a fuel bottle attached and screwed onto this. Before you're able to use it, you will pump it up by doing this. All right, it doesn't work when there's no fuel bottle on it, obviously. But there you go. Those are some of the pros and cons and idiosyncrasies of the Whisperlite stove. And then a pro tip for you, there is a shaker valve in here that if you get a clog in the output of the burner assembly, you can actually shake it. You hear that little rattle? That little rattle is a piece on the inside that's moving around inside the tube. So if you get debris or anything that is clogging up the fuel output to the burner, you should be able to shake it, and sometimes it'll clear that out, allow it to blow through, or at least let the fuel flow through.